zodiac signs that carry an ancient curse in their blood. There are zodiac signs whose energy is unlike any other. Their blood carries the echoes of ancient oaths that have not lost their power even after millennia. They are drawn to the depths where the power of their lineage rests, but along with it, the shadow of the past that gives them no peace. This is not fiction or mysticism for entertainment. It is part of human nature, born with the imprint of trials that are passed down from generation to generation. Some feel it through strange coincidences, repetitions of events that seem to haunt their lives. Others feel it through the struggle with invisible obstacles that appear just when the moment of flight arrives. These people have a special mission, not to avoid, but to overcome. They become stronger when they turn pain into a source of strength. This video will reveal the signs of the zodiac that carry an ancient curse, not as a burden, but as a key to their own rebirth. So watch carefully, because what follows may change your perception of your own destiny. Subscribe so you don't miss out on what is usually kept silent. The first sign is Aries. In the heart of Aries burns a fire that does not belong to the modern world. It comes from the depths of time, from those eras when strength determined the right to life, and blood was carried not only by the veins, it carried the memory of battles, victories, and unfulfilled vows. The lineage of this sign carries a burden that is passed on not by words, but by gaze, not by teaching, but by instinct. It is the curse of an ancient race of warriors who once refused to bow their heads to authority and thus brought upon themselves the seal of endless trials. Aries carries in its blood the memory of the first loss, when its ancestors defended what they considered sacred and paid for it with their fate. Since then, every Aries has lived with an invisible struggle between fearlessness and a tireless desire to prove to the world that it is worth more. His life often resembles a path through fire. The more he strives for victory, the more trials he encounters. But this is the essence of the ancient code of his blood. Through struggle, Aries purifies his lineage, breaking the chains of his ancestors. Those born under this sign have an invisible mark in their gaze, direct, firm, unbreakable. It attracts challenges, danger, and competition to them. That is why Aries so often encounter resistance even in small things. They carry within themselves the energy of ancient retribution, for broken vows, for severed alliances, for bloodshed without honor. This power makes them tireless, but also forces them to pay for every breakthrough with their own inner storms. Their soul never knows peace. They can achieve fame, create an empire, but deep down, they will always hear a quiet voice reminding them, "You're not done yet." And it is this voice that is the echo of an ancient curse. It does not allow Aries to stop, even when everything has been achieved. For them, each victory is not a reward, but a temporary relief. There is something primitive in Aries' behavior. They react faster than they think because the warrior's survival algorithm is in their blood. Their anger is not accidental. It is a flash of an ancient flame that once burned cities and destroyed enemy walls. However, within this fire there is also a sacred seed, the ability to rise again after any fall. No other sign has such a resource for self-improvement. Aries falls, and in a moment is back on his feet, because it is in his genetic memory. Never give up. They may not know why their life always feels like a battle, why they cannot sit still, why even love for them is a duel of souls. But the reason is that their energy is not modern. It comes from eras when only those who were the first to light a fire in the darkness survived. That is why Aries cannot be indifferent. cannot be cold. He is made to burn. And yet the key to liberation is hidden in his fire. The curse passed down through generations does not destroy him, but teaches him to control his power. When Aries stops fighting the whole world and directs his fire toward creation, the ancient seal weakens. And then his passion, courage, and fearlessness turn into a stream that changes not only his destiny, but also the destiny of everyone around him. His curse is to be the first, to always go where no one has gone before, and to pay for it with loneliness. But this is his eternal mission, to keep the flame burning when others fear the darkness. And as long as he walks, as long as his heart does not give up, the ancient curse turns into a blessing of power. The second sign is Gemini. In the blood of Gemini lives a double code that carries not only a talent for words and intellect, but also the shadow of an ancient duality. It is an ancient curse of the mind that sees two paths at once, and cannot choose one without loss. Their lineage originates from a line where two brothers once swore never to part, but fate tore their unity apart. One betrayed, the other died. And since then, this rift has remained in the blood of Gemini, an eternal struggle between light and shadow, idealism and cunning, clarity and chaos. They are born with a face that simultaneously expresses two states, a smile and thoughtfulness. Their consciousness always moves in two directions. That is why Gemini are capable of creating and destroying, loving and despising, helping and rejecting, almost simultaneously. There is no hypocrisy in this, only a reflection of the ancient duality that is rooted in their essence. The curse of Gemini is that they always carry an invisible conflict within themselves. Their minds are faster than anyone else's, but their hearts cannot keep up with their thoughts. They often make decisions that they themselves do not understand. This is because their blood remembers the ancient mistake of their ancestors, the attempt to combine what by nature should remain separate. Their gift of communication is not just a talent, but an attempt to reconcile the opposites within themselves. They seek balance in words, in relationships, in constant motion. But the more they try to explain themselves to the world, the more they feel an inner emptiness. This is the consequence of the curse. They cannot stop, because stopping means encountering their own reflection, which asks questions that have no answers. And yet it is in this duality that their unique strength lies. Gemini are able to see the truth where others see only extremes. Their analytical mind is a tool for unraveling ancient knots that generations have carried without understanding their nature. They can turn the curse of duality into a gift of wisdom if they learn to accept both sides of themselves without fear. Gemini are rarely calm. Their lives are like a kaleidoscope of hundreds of events, acquaintances, ideas, jokes, and emotions. But beneath this restlessness lies a deep inner search to find the one truth that will relieve the tension in their blood. They are not looking for love or fame, they are looking for harmony. And this is their path to purification from the curse of their ancestors, who once broke the sacred connection between word and deed. When Gemini learn to speak not only with their minds, but also with their hearts, the ancient curse begins to lose its power. They transform from bearers of chaos into conduits of clarity. Their quick thinking becomes not a chaotic fire, but a light that dispels the darkness of misunderstanding. Then their voice begins to be heard not only by people, but by space itself, and fate begins to cooperate with them. Their curse is to be two in one body, but it is this duality that gives them the ability to feel the world more deeply than anyone else. And when they accept this gift, the divided blood ceases to flow in their veins. It becomes pure, strong, capable of creation. The third sign is Sagittarius. The memory of flight is engraved in Sagittarius's blood, not only physical flight, but spiritual flight. His lineage comes from clans of travelers, seekers of truth, who challenged the gods and were punished with an endless journey without rest. Since then, every Sagittarius is born with an inner need to go, to seek, to flee from stagnation. His curse is eternal motion. Where others find a home, he sees a trap. Where others rest, he is already looking for a new horizon. This sign does not know what complete silence is. His mind is constantly in motion, his heart always striving for more. But this is not just character. It is an echo of an ancient oath made by ancestors who once refused to submit to the law of the earth and chose the path of fire and sky. They sought infinity and received it in the form of a curse passed on to their descendants. Sagittarius has a strange ability to sense boundaries before he encounters them. His inner compass is always pointing forward, but this movement does not always bring peace. His life often consists of cycles of ups and downs, because every time he reaches his goal, an invisible force forces him to start over. This is not failure. It is the memory of blood that does not allow him to stop. Their soul is strong, but also doomed to an eternal quest for more. Sagittarius can have everything and still feel empty. This is the trace of an ancient curse on those who sought to know the truth that humanity is not allowed to know. His thirst for knowledge, travel, and exploration is not a coincidence, but an attempt to lift the ancient burden of an unfinished task. Sagittarius cannot deceive himself. His nature demands honesty, even if the truth hurts. That is why he often destroys what he builds if he senses falsehood. This is not rebellion, but an instinct for purification. His blood remembers that truth is more precious than comfort. But this curse hides a gift, the ability to transform pain into wisdom. Sagittarius does not just experience events, he lives them on a spiritual level. Each of his experiences leaves an imprint on him, which becomes part of a deeper understanding. And when others give up, he raises his head, because he knows that the path is the meaning. His curse is an eternal pursuit of an ideal that does not exist. But it is this pursuit that makes him rise above limitations. When Sagittarius accepts his restlessness as part of his nature, he begins to control the power of blood rather than be its slave. And then his arrow ceases to fly aimlessly. It finds the point where truth and freedom merge into one. His lineage carries a lesson. There is no final destination, only movement. And as long as Sagittarius moves, his blood is cleansed of the curse of endless searching. He becomes a conduit between the past and the future, between earth and sky. And then the burden of his ancestors turns into wings that lift him above his own destiny. The fourth sign is Capricorn. In the heart of Capricorn flows the blood of ancient rulers, those who once wore black seals of power, created not by human hands. Their power was unshakable, but for every blow of the hammer, for every peak they conquered, retribution came. And that is why every Capricorn has a shadow, not weakness, but the burden of ancestors who interfered too deeply in the course of time. This sign carries the curse of disobedience. It is born to win, even when victory hurts. People of this sign always go to the end, but their path is rarely easy. They seem to be born for trials, because the memory of pride, which became a crime in the eyes of eternity, pulsates in their veins. Capricorn is not just a striving for height, it is an eternal struggle between light and shadow within one soul. When others see coldness in him, he is actually hiding the pain of those who could not atone for their guilt. His inner silence is not indifference, but discipline, acquired at the cost of thousands of generations who lived under the pressure of an ancient covenant to achieve everything, but not to find peace. That is why this sign often stands on the edge, between honor and ruthlessness, between order and inner turmoil. His curse is the inability to stop. Capricorn does not know what rest is. Even in his sleep, his mind works, turning pain into a plan and fatigue into motivation. It is a doom to be strong, even when strength becomes a trap. People of this sign seem to carry an ancient stone within themselves, a symbol of duty that cannot be cast off. And no matter how many times they fall, they will rise again. Not because they want to, but because they must. In the deepest layers of Capricorn's memory lives the memory of a time when he was once chosen. Then his family made a deal, strength in exchange for peace of mind. Since then, every Capricorn has been able to lead others, but cannot tame his own loneliness. It grows inside him like a crystal mountain, where every unfulfilled dream echoes. His eyes often betray this coldness. It is not indifference. It is the echo of an ancient call that does not allow him to be ordinary. They see the world through the prism of discipline, build everything with their own hands, but every time they reach the top, they hear a whisper from the depths of their family. You have repeated our history. And then the curse comes to life, in the form of excessive control, fear of losing power, or an unshakable need to prove something, even to those who no longer exist. Capricorn cannot be free from this, but it is in his power to turn the curse into a weapon. That is why he is so cold-blooded, so precise in his actions, as if he remembers every mistake of his ancestors. His face is a mask of calm, under which the struggle with fate rages. They do not need words of sympathy. Capricorns are born for a harsh mission. They are driven by a will that overcomes obstacles and a pain that makes them superhuman. When others seek the easy way, he carves his own path through stone. And each step he takes is a challenge to an ancient curse that has turned weakness into iron endurance. He cannot be broken, for he has already been broken 1,000 times. And every time the fragments fell, he gathered himself again, without a name, without advice, without regret. That is why his path is difficult, but real. This is the essence of his curse and his greatness. The fifth sign of Pisces. Pisces carries the memory of an ancient water tribe that once betrayed the element that gave life. This sign carries the echo of that mistake, the curse of boundless sensitivity. Their soul is always so open that even the breath of the world can hurt it. People of this sign seem to be born between worlds. They see what others cannot see and feel what others are afraid to feel. But this gift comes at a high price. Pisces are forced to carry the pain of the world as their own. Their curse is their inability to shut themselves off. They absorb other people's emotions like a sponge, and even when they are silent, a storm rages inside them. They are the descendants of those who once made a deal with water, to gain the ability to understand souls, but to lose their own balance. That is why Pisces often seem dreamy or detached. They are not in the clouds. They are deeper than others, at the very essence of things. They carry within them the cry of generations that does not subside even in sleep. This sign hides an ancient power, the ability to feel the truth without words. But every time Pisces touches the truth, they are wounded by the realization of human imperfection. Their heart is like a broken mirror that still reflects light, even though it is cracked. And it is this curse that makes them unique. They can love even when they have been betrayed, help those who exhaust them, and seek harmony in chaos. Pisces have no protection. Their strength lies in their vulnerability. This is not weakness, but an ancient talisman that has been deliberately transformed into pain. For only those who suffer are capable of understanding the depth of being. The river of time flows through their veins, and every drop is a story of loss that has taught them compassion. That is why Pisces always find their way to another person's heart, even if that heart is closed. But at the same time, this is their eternal torment. They do not know where others end, and they themselves begin. The curse of Pisces is to live in constant empathy, where all the pain of the world becomes personal. And although they can heal others, they are unable to heal themselves. Their soul is a well from which everyone drinks, but which no one fills. Pisces are always looking for harmony, but the world throws challenges at them in response. Their calling is to carry light through darkness, even when their own light dims. They never turn away from pain because they know that truth lies within it. This sign is silent when others shout and speaks when everyone is silent. That is why Pisces so often seem like strangers among their own. They live not in reality, but in depth. Their presence is always special. When Pisces are around, the world becomes a little softer. But every time they give a piece of themselves, the curse reminds them of itself, through fatigue, tears, and tremors in the heart. And yet they do not stop, because in this sacrifice lies their strength. They do not seek power or recognition. They exist to feel, and in doing so, they change everything around them. The curse of Pisces is to be a mirror of the world, reflecting both beauty and pain. They are both victim and savior at the same time. Their path is endless purification by water that never stops. And even when it seems that Pisces dissolves in the flow, in reality they become its essence. Their pain is their fire. Their silence is their strength. And that is why they are able to survive what others do not even dare to imagine.